Okay, so for my vlog today, I'm gonna be talking about two articles. The first article is gonna be about the Toronto Raptors celebration, and then the second article is gonna be about the Seahawks potentially getting kicked out of the NFL. Let's start with my first article about the Raptors. Pretty much in the situation, the Toronto Raptor fans, they were in a bar and they were celebrating when Kevin Durant potentially had a career-ending Achilles injury. But this is where the article's fake, because Kevin Durant, when he got injured, the fans in the bar weren't actually screaming. The fans in the bar were actually shocked, just like everyone else. And then they got the clip though from England. And England, they were celebrating the World Cricket Cup. So while England was all celebrating, they took that clip, put it under the Raptors description. So they had the headline, Toronto Raptors celebrating after Kevin Durant's injury. Then they showed the clip. And now, what was the goal of releasing? The goal that the blog source had by releasing this would be, as Toronto has something positive, as they finally a team outside of America won an NBA championship, someone else would try to use that negativity to get rid of the positivity by saying that, oh, Toronto, they're celebrating Kevin Durant's injury, let's not look at them at the same. And then the media is exerting the power on society also by this, as they're trying to persuade the masses into believing that Toronto, they don't actually care about anyone, they only care about themselves, and they actually cheer when at other people's downfall. They're trying to persuade people to have a negative outlook on Toronto. Now this also affects the city's economic purposes, as more people would be turned off by coming to Toronto. And for example, also Kawhi, he wouldn't want to sign if he knows that all the Toronto fans just hate all his NBA friends, because why would he want to sign to people that hated his friends, right? So that makes no sense, and it's potentially damaging to the Toronto Raptors and the whole city of Toronto and the economic sources as the tourist attractions. So it's not really helping neither party. It's kind of just putting a negative spotlight on Toronto. Raptor fans had a bad reaction to this, as they were outraged due to the lies about the apparent celebration of KD's injury. This led to fans ranting on Twitter about it, and it wasn't able to reach trending status, but it was still made it big enough to reach Canada International Radio, and that's the plug of CBC, so I guess it made it pretty far. In an article, I chose how the Seahawks potentially were almost kicked out of the NFL. Now this article is clearly fake, as a whole NFL team wouldn't be able to get kicked out of the NFL, but the reason for it was the Seattle players had a video where they were stomping on the American flag and they were burning it. And the players in the video, as it showed no faces, but it was sourced, saying that the videos had Richard Sherman, the cornerback for the Seahawks, and Michael Bennett, the defensive end for the Seahawks. And they're both players that I would say have like the aggressive players on the field, so I guess it potentially gave that outlook to make it somewhat believable. But as we know now, this article is clearly fake, as the Seahawks were not kicked out of the NFL. But to continue on this, potentially the reason why this article even surfaced was because they want to give a bad outlook on the Seahawks. This was during the time that Kaepernick was doing his knees to stand up for African American rights. And as they're African American players, they wanted to throw bad on their name. And by throwing bad on their name, it would give another purpose for like white supremacists to believe that the stereotypes about African Americans in America is exerting its power over society by trying to persuade people into believing that the Seahawks are anti-America and they have no patriotism, which is very false, as the NFL and football in general is really close to America. So to be a football player and not have respect for America is equivalent to like eating French toast but not having like syrup or butter on your French toast. It makes no sense. But the possible consequences of this inaccurate information would be people hating on the Seahawks. The society would be torn over the Seahawks. Half the society would agree with the Seahawks. Potentially some people would agree on the Seahawks, but most people wouldn't, as like it's an outlandish act of burning the flag. Marines would definitely hate, and people who are really close to America and believe America is the greatest, they would definitely hate on this act. This will also give less fans to the Seahawks players. This will also hurt Seattle in general, as Seattle is supporting a team that is anti-America, and that wouldn't look so well to people trying to come to Seattle for sightseeing. And that is the end of my vlog. Thank you for listening. Don't fall for fake news, as fake news is often fall. People often fall for fake news in our society, and that's why these articles even surface in the first place, as media sources are just trying to bait you into getting clicks and more clicks. Thank you for listening.